Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know, my name is Soraya, and today I'm going to be talking about the things that surprised me moving to New York. So, for those of you that aren't familiar, I moved to New York when I was 18 years old for college, and I thought I was an adult when I turned 18, but little did I know that moving to New York would just change everything that I thought about adulthood and being on my own. And I kind of want to just share some things that surprised me and that I learned along the way those first few months moving there. So I remember the very first feeling when my mother dropped me off at college. It felt very, very weird and kind of freeing. I remember she dropped me off. I had 5 roommates at the time. Shout out to my roommates. And I remember she left. My family went back home, and I just felt so free, like this weird freeing feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm really on my own. There's no one here to like tell me to make my bed or when to eat, to do my laundry. It just felt very oddly freeing. I could physically feel myself actually on my own. It was a very, very odd experience at 18 to feel in my dorm room. I was like, oh my gosh, like this feels so different to me. So I remember that was like my first initial feeling was like, wow, I feel really free being here. And then I feel like quickly turned into this learning curve. Specifically, I remember for our welcome week, we had to go to Brooklyn, and that was my very first time taking the subway. I had been to New York a few times before, but I had taken either a bus into the city or I had driven into the city and just walked around and taken the bus around or walked around. So I really was not familiar with the subway system at all. So I remember on my first time going into Brooklyn, New York, and just going on the subway with like a group of kids, and we're all just like, all right, let's figure it out. Where are we going? Like, we have to get off at this stop, and let's make sure we listen or we pay attention. And it was just so exciting and again so freeing, but also like, let's not mess this up. And I would definitely say those first few months, maybe even the first year, I always would take the wrong subway. I just could not figure out the grid system. And I was constantly either going uptown or downtown. I was like, oh my gosh, where am I going? And that's kind of just a part of it. That's kind of almost like a rite of passage moving to New York. So I remember feeling like, okay, I'm just gonna have to figure this out. And it's a part of the growing pains and just becoming an adult and figuring out living in a new city and navigating that. And so it was really exciting, but also kind of confusing those first few months. And then, eventually you get it and it becomes second nature. But it was definitely a learning curve in the beginning. I also wanted to try a million new places. I knew that New York was known for like its pizza and its bagels and like all the carbs, which I loved. So I remember just wanting to try a bunch of new restaurants, either in the area near me or just on campus in general, because my campus is kind of just is spread out throughout the city. There's not like a specific place. It was really cool to just explore different food areas, whether that was like Chelsea Market or just West Village, Alphabet City, like just really exploring the different things that the city had to offer. And I remember wanting to just try all the new foods, all the cool ice cream spots. There's like this really cool ice cream spot called Dough. I don't know if it's still there anymore, probably not. But I remember just wanting to try all these different cool places that I had heard about from other like students. And it's like, okay, we have to try these like in the first few months that we're here. And that was really, really fun and exciting. This is kind of random, but I remember the city smelling really weird. The first few weeks, because it was August, September, I remember it was still kind of warm, and I was just like constantly sniffing, and I was like, it smells like, the best way I could describe it, hot ketchup. It smelled like hot ketchup. And I was like, what is that smell? Like, does everyone just ignoring the smell? And like, of course, there's like pollution and stuff. And I was like, is this normal? Like, again, I'd been to New York a few times, but I think I just ignored that fact. But once I was like living there, I was like, why does it constantly smell like hot ketchup and like smoke? Like, I was like, is this normal? And then now, you kind of just get used to it. But I was like, it smells really, really weird. One thing that I loved that I noticed immediately was how culturally diverse New York was. I remember that being a huge selling point for me because I wanted to go somewhere that was a melting pot that had all of these different cultures represented. And I knew that my university was really great about that, about having students from all over the country and all over the world, just having a lot of international presence. And so I immediately clocked that New York felt immensely more diverse than anywhere else I had ever lived. And I just loved that, like, learning different people's cultures and languages and customs, and also what brought them to New York. I found that super, super fascinating. And I kind of noticed that immediately. And I loved that part of it. Also, the city is so walkable. I touched on this before about with the subway, but I noticed, I was like, wait, anything that I really need, whether it's like the grocery store, the doctor's office, anything that I really truly needed was in walking distance. I was like, this is fantastic. Now, you might be walking a little bit. It could be 20 minutes or it could be an hour, but you can walk there. And that's what I genuinely loved first moving here. Was I don't have to Uber or take the subway if I don't want to. I can walk around, and it's truly true. You can walk almost anywhere, and that's amazing. Another thing I noticed when I was trying out all these different places that I mentioned earlier was how expensive it is. I was like, wait, this city costs money, money. And mind you, I'm a student, so a lot of things are covered through the university. There's other things that aren't covered that I might just want to spend on. And I was like, I don't have a job anymore. Like, I had a job my entire senior year of high school, but I did not keep that job once I moved to New York. So I was like, wait, how am I going to make money? So I remember thinking, okay, wait, we have to fix this. We have to solve this. I heard about a work study and I was like, wait, I think that's what I'm going to do. And my second semester, I ended up getting a work study because I was like, I need some extra cash because the city is expensive. So immediately peeped that and was like, okay, we're going to get a job, at least a part time one, so that we can have some extra cash on hand. And a fun one is that I really enjoyed the weather. I was surprised by how warm it stayed. I'm, kind of like a northeastern girly, but the fact that it was like October and it was still warm, we could still kind of wear shorts and sandals. I was like, wait, this is great. So the weather really surprised me. Now, given this was years ago and the globe is warming and it has changed, but I remember thinking initially, it's really nice to be somewhere where summer felt longer and it just felt like it was embraced. The city had this energy and like this just beautiful vibrancy, and the weather kind of invites you to experience that. And so I really, really loved how amazing the weather was pretty much those first few months I got there. And those were my initial experiences of the city. I feel there was so much that I was learning and trying to soak in at 18, and I found everything to be so exciting. None of it was truly overwhelming. I think it was just all a learning curve, and I was really just down to try it and really down to learn whatever came my way. And so I found the city to be just super vibrant and very warm and exciting and different from anything else that I'd ever experienced. And I was like, wait, I could feel myself becoming an adult in a real way and having this different sense of responsibility. And I loved that. I kind of loved that I could set my own schedule. There was no one there to like tell me what I needed to do. And it created this great sense of autonomy that I never experienced before. And I think every person should experience that. That is my one piece of advice, is that I think everyone should move to a new city regardless of the age that you do it at, because it really does teach you how to be independent and how to navigate things on your own and how to find safety and just be smart. That's another thing. I was really trying to learn the different ways of like, okay, well, how late do I want to be out? And like, am I always going to be with a group of friends and making friends and all of that? It was so easy to do those things that first year, but it really was a learning curve. And so I recommend anyone just moving to a new city to just try things out and be safe, be smart, but don't be afraid to make mistakes and learn from those and just grow and explore. Exploration is just a beautiful thing. I'm just always curious and naturally just excited to try new things and see how it goes. And so those are some of the things that surprised me when I first moved to New York. Let me know what you might have found interesting in terms of moving to a new city. It could be New York, it could be anywhere. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.